Today, we're diving into one of the oldest and most profound questions humanity has ever asked. How can we prove that God is real? This is not just a question of religion or tradition. It's a question about the nature of reality, the foundation of meaning, and our place in the universe. Whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, this conversation matters because it shapes how we live, how we think, and how we understand each other. But first, let's be honest. Proving God is real is not like proving gravity exists. We're not talking about dropping an apple. We're talking about something far bigger, far deeper, and far more personal. So can we prove that God is real? Let's explore. Before we dive into arguments, we need to ask, what do we mean by proof? In math, proof is airtight. In science, proof means overwhelming evidence based on repeatable experiments. In court, it means beyond a reasonable doubt. But when we ask about God, we're often asking for a different kind of proof, not one that fits in a test tube, but one that satisfies the heart, the mind, and the soul. The kind of proof we use when we trust someone we love, or when we believe in justice or beauty or purpose, even though we can't measure those things with a ruler. So the better question might be, what kind of evidence points toward the existence of God? Let's look at a few major ones. The first is the cosmological argument, the idea that everything that begins to exist must have a cause. Look around. The universe exists. Galaxies, stars, planets, laws of physics. All of it. But the big question is, why is there something rather than nothing? Scientists tell us the universe had a beginning about 13.8 billion years ago. But that leads to another question. What caused the beginning? You can't get something from nothing. Even the Big Bang needs a spark. Philosophers like Thomas Aquinas and modern thinkers like William Lane Craig argue that this cause must be timeless, spaceless, and immaterial because it existed before time and space. That sounds a lot like God. Now, this doesn't prove which God is real, but it strongly suggests that some kind of first cause, something outside the universe, started it all. Next, let's talk about fine-tuning. The laws of nature, gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear force are so precisely calibrated that if they were even slightly different, life would be impossible. Not just human life, any life. For example, if the strength of gravity were off by 1 part in 1060, stars couldn't form. If the cosmological constant were off by 1 part in 10,120, the universe would have either collapsed or expanded too fast for galaxies to form. This kind of fine-tuning begs for an explanation. Is it random? Luck? Or intentional design? Some say the multiverse could explain it, an infinite number of universes, and we just happen to live in the one that works. But that idea is untestable. It's speculation. Design, on the other hand, is something we recognize every day. If you saw a watch on the beach, you wouldn't think the waves made it. You'd assume a designer. The fine-tuning of the universe may point to a cosmic designer, an intelligent mind behind the laws of physics. Here's another line of reasoning, the moral argument. All of us, no matter our background, have a sense of right and wrong. Murder is wrong. Kindness is good. Justice matters. But where does that come from? If we're just biological machines driven by evolution and survival, why should we care about justice, or sacrifice, or love? C.S. Lewis, once an atheist, said it this way: a man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. In other words, if we recognize evil, it means we're comparing it to a standard of good. But where does that standard come from? Evolution can explain behavior, but not moral obligation. Morality at its core suggests a moral lawgiver, someone who wrote the rules on our hearts. The existence of objective moral values is difficult to explain without a transcendent source. And that source looks a lot like God. So far, we've looked at philosophical arguments. But let us not ignore the most common kind of evidence people cite for God's existence: personal experience. Across every culture and age, billions of people claim to have encountered something beyond themselves, something holy, loving, or awe-inspiring. Some describe it as peace during crisis. Others feel it during prayer or in nature. Some report miracles. Others speak of lives radically changed. Now, personal experiences aren't proof in a scientific sense, but they're real and they matter. If one person says they saw the sunrise, you might doubt them. If 10 people do, maybe they're mistaken. But if billions across centuries testify to something beyond this world, maybe it's worth taking seriously. Even atheists have admitted moments of awe that feel spiritual. The human heart seems wired for wonder. Maybe that's not an accident. Maybe it's a clue. Of course, there are objections. Why doesn't God show up more obviously? Why is there suffering? Why do different religions disagree? These are fair questions, and we should wrestle with them. But we should also ask, if God did exist, would we expect to fully understand him? If we're talking about a being beyond space, time, and matter, maybe the mystery is not a weakness, but a sign that we're on the right track. After all, we don't expect a 2-year-old to fully grasp Einstein. Maybe God isn't hiding. Maybe we're just not always looking with the right eyes. So can we prove God is real? Not in a laboratory. But we can point to clues, powerful, compelling clues in the universe, in morality, and in the human soul. The origin of everything, the fine-tuning of nature, the moral law within us, the longing for meaning, the stories we share. Be all we feel. These don't prove God, but together they form a mosaic. And that mosaic points to something or someone greater than ourselves. In the end, belief in God is not just a conclusion. It's a choice. It's not just about evidence. It's about interpretation. It's about trust. So the question is not just, is there proof? The question is, what will you do with it? Thank you.